There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me.
Well, good day to you, travellers. In the earlier videos we looked at what the fifth dimension actually is and what it feels like when we encounter it. In this video we'll look at what the fifth dimension has to do with aliens. The first thing we'll do is take another look at Earth's history. As we move into 5D, all of our belief structures will come into question at some point. The official history of Earth consistently dismisses evidence that contradicts it. Aliens have been hanging around Earth as long as humans have, and they've been involved in our history all along. The following are only a small illustration of the real history of our world, as opposed to what most of us were trained to think from early childhood. A more complete list of Earth's real history would fill thousands of videos like this one. So we need to rethink the history we've been taught, including aliens, because most of it is a lie. We'll look at the Piri-Reis map, which was made in the 1500s. Among other things, this map shows the coastline of Antarctica and two nearby islands, all of which have been buried under kilometres of ice for many thousands of years. Antarctica wasn't officially discovered even until 1820, and its coastline under the ice wasn't mapped until we had satellites in the 1960s. The last time Antarctica's coast might possibly have been ice-free was over 6,000 years ago, but that date is disputed. Many scientists believe the ice has been present for hundreds of thousands of years over Antarctica.
In 1929, rolled up on a dusty shelf in a library in Constantinople in Turkey, a map was found. This map had been drawn in 1513 by a Turkish admiral, Admiral Piri-Reis. The strange thing about this map is it shows features of the Earth that nobody in 1513 should have been able to know.
Before the 18th century, sailors ran the risk of crashing their ships onto rocky coastlines because they lacked one thing: the ability to calculate longitude. For that, you need an extremely accurate clock. It wasn't until 1790 that the first accurate marine timepiece was invented, and sailors could pinpoint their position on the seas.
And as Piri-Reis himself told us, that knowledge was not his knowledge. It was knowledge that he'd borrowed and copied from earlier maps. And he stated on the map that it was based on more than 20 source maps, and that some of these maps went back to the time of Alexander the Great, or even earlier, in other words, to before the time of Christ. So the mystery is, where did these source maps come from? Who charted the globe long ages ago with an accuracy that we ourselves can hardly match today?
Related to Piri-Reis's map are ancient underwater structures that are being discovered in hundreds of locations all around the world. Here are some examples from Japan.
Yonaguni, Japan. This small island is at the westernmost tip of the Japanese archipelago. In 1987, in nearby waters, dive tour operator Kiichiro Arataki made a shocking discovery. A massive complex of stone formations lay hidden a mere 60 feet beneath the ocean surface.
There are several reasons why I think this is not a natural formation. A number of tools and numerous engraved stones were found at the site. Because of these things, there is no doubt to me that this was made artificially.
Whether it is France, India, or Japan, there are man-made structures that lie underwater. Two ways how our ancestors could have done this. Either they had scuba gear, I don't think so, or this stuff was built when the ocean levels were lower, and that was over 14,000 years ago. And 14,000 years ago, according to mainstream archaeology, we were just dwelling in caves, hunter-gatherers.
Ancient man-made structures that have been under the ocean for over 13,000 years doesn't fit into our official history of Earth very well. Who made them? Where did they get their technology? Then there's the alien skulls with alien DNA. You'd think it would be front-page headlines, wouldn't you? Instead, these skulls have been ignored in museums until quite recently. Museums have been holding at least 2 species of alien skulls with alien DNA in them, which have just come to public attention only recently.
In early 2010, a team of geneticists in America began DNA testing on possibly the strangest looking skull ever discovered. Whilst trying to recover its nuclear DNA and matching it against the National Institute of Health database, they found a significant number of coherent base pairs that have never been seen before. This was an historic moment for science, as it proved beyond all reasonable doubt that part of the skull's DNA is not human. It was found in Mexico in the 1930s, and through carbon dating we know that the skull is over 900 years old. It has over 24 major physiological differences to that of a human.
These are the cuts in the skulls for DNA testing, and you see that the star child, when I've been saying it's half as thick, you see very clearly here. In some points it's even less than half. And this is, in the skull. So, I mean, there's just no exaggeration there. There's a complete difference in the bone throughout. Uniformly, it's different.
This is the biochemistry of a typical human bone. Its calcium and phosphorus levels are high, and its oxygen and carbon levels are low. But with the star child, it's quite different. The phosphorus is down and the carbon and oxygen are up, indicating its biochemistry is more like tooth enamel than regular bone.
Next, we'll look at the strange sounds in the sky that began in about late 2010. There are many theories in spiritual, UFO, religious, scientific, skeptic and conspiracy groups about what these noises are. Some think they're cloaked mothership noises, trumpets of the apocalypse, harp, pole shift, fraud, Earth going 5D, or electromagnetism from the aurora, etc. Personally, I have not yet decided which of these various theories I feel to be correct about the strange sounds in the sky.
There's been a lot of buzz over the last few weeks about strange sounds being heard in the atmosphere. People around the world and here at home have reported hearing some bizarre noises.
It came in many forms last Sunday night. To some it sounded like trumpets, to others a mariner's horn. This phenomenon stretched beyond North Battleford. Similar experiences were reported in Saskatoon, northern Saskatchewan and parts of the US, even in Europe.
And it was vibrating, you could feel it through your body, and then it starts to die down again, and then you feel it building up again.
The hell is that? Is that coming from the clouds?
I don't know, it's somewhere up there.
Well, if noises in the sky are strange enough, then we've got the UFOs in the sky. Look at the solid type UFOs first. Reports of these go back as long as historical records. Recently there seems to be a marked increase in sightings, often by entire cities of people at a time. Many of these type of sightings are simply indisputable. Some of these so-called solid UFO objects can change shape or go translucent, or just plain disappear, which implies interdimensional activity.
What does it look like, Bill?
They just appeared. What do they look like in your camera?
They look like...
It looks like there's 3 of them in a row. What do they look like? Is like this sphere before?
Yeah, they're spears now.
Are they complete circles? Or
yeah, they just transformed into circles right now, right as you were talking. Now they're not spears.
A UFO in China's skies forced Zhoushan Airport to stop operations on July 7th. Outbound flights were grounded after the unidentified flying object was detected by a flight crew. The incident has captured the attention of Chinese media, and theories about the UFO's identity are burning up on the internet as well. Now, the UFO continues to be a mystery. A spokesman from China's Civil Aviation Administration confirmed to ABC News that the matter is under investigation.
I still don't know what to make of all the talk about the planet Nibiru entering our solar system, but there are 2 comments I have to make about the next clip. The first thing is that the thing that catches the solar flare is way bigger than the Earth. And secondly, who has a vested interest in blocking radiation and solar wind from travelling into our solar system? That's a hell of a thing to be doing.
This area, you'll see a black sphere come into view. You see it penetrating through the visible portion of the corona, and then actually deflect the filament eruption. Watch this. You see that? It's actually catching the filament that's going around it. It has blocked it. There is no visible CME from this standpoint.
I don't know who is in the solid-looking UFOs or what their agenda is. Most likely it's many different types of beings, all with their own different agendas. Who are the little grey aliens that appear to turn up dead around the place occasionally? Well, it appears that some of the aliens that mess with our DNA have also painted themselves into a corner in our world and have become earthbound. Perhaps these dead grey aliens are some of the earthbound bad guys. Who knows for sure? Probably the US government, for one. Then there's the good old lights in the sky type UFOs. The light type UFOs are also difficult to be specific about because they're so varied. Some of them even seem to form crop circles. However, if 5D was starting to bang around the edges of 4D a bit, maybe it might partly manifest in phenomena like some of these, where objects seem to appear and disappear and do bizarre things.
Some Chinese residents are on edge this morning after another apparent UFO sighting. It's the second one in 2 weeks. The first sighting was on July 7th, and an airport had to be shut down.
All right, that's a UFO if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, can you identify it?
Scientists left baffled by an unexplained circular light seen hovering high over Moscow on Wednesday evening. People described seeing a wide circular formation in the sky. Footage capturing the spectacle will help whether scientists and specialists find an explanation for the event.
Scientists from all over the world are trying to figure out what caused a mysterious blue light to spiral in the sky over Norway on Wednesday.
As UFO sightings go, this one was as good or as weird as it gets.
Early yesterday morning, just before dawn, this appeared in the Norwegian sky. A blue light, small at first, growing into a spiral, and then disappearing into what appeared to be a black hole.
Locals say the light appeared to be bigger than the moon. Thousands of Norwegians bombarded the Meteorological Institute to ask what that light could have possibly been.
These kinds of historical and present-day phenomena help jolt us out of our confined imaginations and open our mind up to question our world in new ways. If you spend some time surfing YouTube, it's amazing what you can uncover. These sorts of realities help to wake us up a bit from our official day-to-day routine lives, which we rarely question. In the second section here, we'll look at aliens themselves. What are aliens? Aliens are mostly interdimensional creatures, the same as we meet when we astral travel. There are so many folklores describing spirits, little men, fairies, aliens, etc., but they're mostly all expressions of the same thing: interdimensional beings that are intersecting with our 4D world. There are at least two ways of having direct contact with other beings or aliens. It's just like with our own friends here on Earth, really. We go to their place, or they come to our place. When our consciousness travels to other dimensions and worlds via our higher chakras, that's when we go to their place, astral traveling. They come to our place when they manifest in our 4D world, often as what we call aliens. So what's all this astral traveling stuff about when we go to their place? It is possible to travel to other worlds through our higher chakras and to meet so-called aliens this way. Humans are not fixed 4D beings by nature. Our bodies in this present 4D world are designed and equipped to travel the universe through our higher chakras, although very few ever do it. Long before our official history began, a higher dimensional species hotwired our DNA, making our higher chakras very difficult for us to access properly. This change to our DNA effectively cut us off from the universe like a radio that's had a main wire cut. This genetic engineering effectively hid us away in a tiny packet of time and space, like a needle hidden in a county that grows hay. Other places we visit through the higher chakras are just as real as places here on Earth. I manifest a solid body in the other places because the beings there can see me, and they even look me in the eye. Some of them look like humans, others are clearly something else. Sometimes when I suddenly appear in their world, the aliens scramble back in fright, the same as people do here if aliens suddenly appear. That's a twist, eh? It can be just as scary and dramatic when you visit other beings as when they visit here. I've often shit myself with fright, so to speak, while travelling the universe. But you can do that travelling Earth too. Astral travelling is actually no big deal. Anyone can do it if they wish to train themselves. It is available to everyone, but in our present state, it unnaturally takes a determined effort of will to learn how. It took me about 3 months of twice daily meditation before I stumbled upon the bright light the first time, but I'm a slow learner. Through the higher chakras, our consciousness can enter other dimensions that exist in flexible time rather than fixed time. The thing is, if you can travel time, it means you can travel space also. That's how we can explore other places in the universe through our higher chakras, and distance is not a problem. In 4D, it takes disciplined training to do this. In 5D, it will become a natural way of ordinary existence. In 1987, I did an intensive period of meditation for about 6 months. I did a session in the morning and same again in the evening. As I progressed, I began to notice things about the process. As higher chakras activate during meditation, our sense of time melts away and my brain started to feel like it was vibrating or flashing jolts of electricity. Often these flashes in the brain would make my whole body jump. At this stage, my consciousness moves into a kind of turbocharged awareness or superconsciousness. Next there's a sudden flash of noiseless, blinding, bright light, and I'd find myself in another place. The first 3 times this happened to me, I got such a fright I jumped straight back into my body. Finally, I learned to relax through the light explosion, and I was off travelling the universe, much to my amazement. In those days I was clumsy, and I did not direct my travel, but wandered aimlessly like a kid in a candy store. I was just so amazed by it all that it never occurred to me to apply direction and intent to my journeys. The final message my guides gave me at that stage was, "You're meant to be on Earth, living the life you went there to live. You're not meant to be goofing off out here trying to escape from your personal issues. Spiritual people should be handling the challenges of life on Earth better than most, not trying to run away from it. So go back to Earth and sort your problems and your life out properly, then get back to us. I learned that I'd been using my spiritual abilities for cowardly, selfish reasons. I'd been trying to escape life's pain by finding peace off-planet in the star worlds where I felt more at home. So I stopped astral travelling for a while and set out to explore and understand my life on Earth in my present 4D world, rather than try to hide or escape from it. That was back in 1987. I re-established that contact when it was time to do so. I wouldn't stress out too much if you don't travel to other worlds through your higher chakras. That's up to you, really. I would recommend meditating, though, because it aligns and grounds you and trains you in focus and intent. This makes us more aware to what's going on inside and outside of us. Now, in some ways, this next bit I'm about to say is the main point of the whole video. When we move into 5D existence along with Earth, we will be meeting other beings as a part of the experience. It is implied by 5D. You can't become a citizen of the universe without bumping into other citizens occasionally. If you are no longer restricted by time or space, you are going to run into what we presently call aliens. So at some point you will be adjusting to that new idea and reality. It is helpful to get accustomed to stuff like that, so we won't be quite so confused when it starts to happen. And just because you meet a higher dimensional being, don't assume that the being is superior to you or even a being of light. I always ask for protection before astral travelling, and I always question those I meet about whether they are from the light or from darkness. If I feel the wrong vibe, I just go somewhere else instantly and safely. So that's when we go to visit other beings at their place, in their worlds. But then there's when they come to our place. And this is when other interdimensional beings manifest themselves here as what we often call aliens in our 4D world. I have had 3 periods in my life I'm aware of when I had direct physical contact with other dimensional beings or aliens when they came to visit me in our 4D world. The first period was when I was a very young child, still learning to talk. This would be about 1957. During the night, other little children would come and get me out of bed, and we would all go and play in the lounge room. I remember that I'd enjoyed it at first, but one night I suddenly felt a bit confused about the whole arrangement, so I went into Mum and Dad's bedroom. I called out to them and pushed against their faces, but they would not wake up. I woke up the next morning in bed as usual, but the little children never came to play with me again. The second period, when I was around puberty, it would have been about 1967, a pretty female-looking alien took me away in a room somewhere. It had a few windows and was white inside. It was bare except for a comfortable table in the middle of the room. She was dressed in what looked like a shiny emerald-coloured jumpsuit. She looked just under 5 feet tall. She was young, had golden blonde hair cut in a shoulder-length bob, and hazel almond-shaped eyes that were slightly bigger than human eyes. She looked very beautiful. She was kind and I was not afraid, but I sensed that my calm state was a result of something they had done to me. I'm not sure that she really looked the way I saw her either. I felt that there was something being masked from me. I knew there were others present, but I couldn't see them. They drugged me with something that made me feel really good, did what they had me there for, and next thing I was at home again. Years later, when I reached adulthood, this would be about 1974, I had another period of contact. This started when I woke up one night pinned down by what felt like several tons of weight. I couldn't breathe or move a twitch and the weight made me powerless. I freaked, and a few seconds later the weight lifted off me, much to my relief. I sat up and saw 3 guys in dark robes with hoods over their heads in the room right next to me. They were over 8 feet tall and had to stoop. This was no "greetings earthling, take us to your leader" encounter. I curled into the fetal position and screamed in terror, unable to take my eyes off them. I was more terrified than I've ever been in my life before or since. The three dudes stepped back from me in unison to about 8 feet away, and my screaming pitch lowered approximately half a semitone. Suddenly I was hit with a blast of peace, like they gave me a shot of morphine or something. I blissed out and don't recall ever feeling that calm, peaceful and loved at any time before or since either. The three dudes took another step backwards and vanished into thin air before my eyes, but I was blissed out. It didn't worry me. Later they told me they'd been doing some body work on me, whatever that means, I didn't ask. I'd not been meant to wake up, and they were sort of apologetic and embarrassed because I'd seen them. They seemed okay once I got used to them, and I was only mildly terrified. They visited 3 times in that manner. These are some examples of one person's real contacts with aliens or interdimensional beings, as opposed to most of the movie images our minds are filled with. Contact with other beings varies a lot. Sometimes you feel like you're drugged and it's sort of out there a bit. Other times it's full tilt in your face reality confronting. It can be terrifying at first as the mind short circuits itself trying to comprehend the impossible. With practice this settles down though and becomes quite workable. These beings that visited me are all exactly the same kinds of beings I meet when I astral travel to other worlds. They're all part of the same general crowd. It's just the method of contact that makes it seem different, whether we go to their place or whether they come to our place. The third and final thing we'll look at in this video is with regard to aliens showing up officially in our 4D world. There is something fundamentally questionable about aliens officially manifesting in our dimension at the moment. The present event is about Earth going from 4D into 5D, not about starting over in 4D again. This 5D process is inside each person, not something that can be organised by a central leadership. If aliens are not on that page, then their motives are suspect. The present Earth event is not about aliens repairing the 4D mess we've created to make a better 4D world for us. Any aliens legitimately manifesting in our world will only be here to assist the transition into 5D, but they don't usually need to reveal themselves to do that. There's plenty doing it already, and we don't see them. At present I doubt that aliens will make a public formal contact and announce themselves, although it is possible, even on the 21st of December. If any aliens do end up landing their UFOs on the White House lawn or your front yard and deliver their message of peace, well, once you get over the shock, ask yourself, are these aliens and their message leading me forward in my personal development and towards 5D, or are they focusing me back upon things 4D and away from my path? The dark beings with the greatest vested interest in keeping us contained in 4D are the most likely of all to formally announce themselves if anyone does, so be wary. Use your intuition and feelings to guide your mind in every situation. Don't just use your mind alone or you'll confuse yourself. Aliens manifesting in our present 4D world may or may not be the good guys. You have the power to work out any situation for yourself. So let's summarise what we've looked at in this video. The first point is that most of the world history we were taught as children is a lie. Amongst other things, aliens have been around on Earth and interacting with humans for as long as we've been here. The second point is that what we call aliens here in our 4D world are the same kinds of beings we meet when we travel to other worlds by projecting our consciousness. We're all just citizens of the universe. And the final point in the video here is don't be distracted from your personal path and development towards 5D. Any aliens that may manifest here for legitimate purposes should be assisting that development, not distracting us from it. You are in charge of your own destiny, not any human or alien dictators. You probably won't encounter aliens while you're still in 4D. But as 5D merges into your reality more, you will begin to notice other beings around. Like anything new, encountering intelligent alien beings can be a bit frightening at first, but as you become more accustomed to it, the fear transforms into excitement and adventure. For now, even just getting used to the idea is like a kind of training for us. Our 4D version of Earth is now being transformed into a 5D existence where we will again have effortless access to the other worlds our species was cut off from long ago. Many of you have felt all your lives that somehow you don't quite fit here on this difficult planet, and you've felt cut off in some way from the stars in the universe. Well, buckle up, travellers. We're going home. Light and love to you all.